Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna play another Yandere dating sim called Mothbound, found on itch.io. Let's begin. This game contains horror content, psychological themes, and graphic visuals that may not be suitable for all players. Viewer discretion is advised. I have headphones. And don't you dare show your face around me ever again. My father shouted these words, waving a bottle of alcohol in his hand. Well, he's probably drunk, though. 1. A blow to my left cheek. 2. The taste of my own blood. 3. The world bored as I hit the floor. His fist met my face multiple times before he threw me out of the apartment. I didn't even wait to hear the door shut. Choking back my tears, I dashed down the stairwell. My parents, they never knew the easiest. My parents, they never knew the easiest to deal with. They were never the easiest to deal with, but tonight they went too far. My father never beat me this bad before. He always made sure to hit me where the marks wouldn't be visible, beneath my clothes. Now it seems he doesn't even try to hide it, the way he treats me and my mother. Though my mother is no saint either, I remember well that when I was younger they weren't this short-tempered. When I started high school, they both fell into drinking and gambling, and the years went by, our situation kept getting worse. As I rushed down the stairs, a wave of pain, anger, and shame. Anger, shame, and the urge for revenge crashed over me, but I forced myself to shove them aside. As I stepped out of the building, I noticed it was snowing. Or something like that. The ground was wet and slushy. If I had seen this coming, I would have put on a coat before leaving. But instead I was stuck with just a hoodie. And now, here I am. No warm clothes, no money, no food, and no idea where to spend the night. Well, we do have one warm clothes, a hoodie. Out of reflex, I reached into my pocket to check the time, only to realize I left my phone at home. Great, I sighed. It looks like most of the stores and malls are It looks like most of the stores and malls are already closed, though it would have been nice to stay in one until the snow stopped. After that, I could try going back home, but my father seemed dead serious about me not coming back. I wandered the streets aimlessly. There were surprisingly few people in the Budapest night. So I noticed a strange light in one of the street lamps' glass dorms. A small orb of light floated down from it and stopped in front of me. Okay, I love the animation. I love the little artwork. When it got close enough, I noticed the strange light was coming from a plump mouth. That's like plump and big. I didn't even know there were insects like this in Hungary. There's no moths in Hungary? Think how they would be. The moth has creamy, almost white color. Its eyes glowed red, and the light it gave off was warm and had a certain magic to it. I didn't know whether to believe my eyes, or if I was just hallucinating from the injuries that my father gave me. It felt like my energies vanished in the moth's presence. I could feel the pain fading from my cheeks. Suddenly, I had a strange feeling, as if the moth was trying to speak to me, but no words were actually spoken. It felt like it was repeating, telling me to follow. Like the uh, like a protagonist from a video game. I need to follow them off so I don't get lost. The 100th time, the glowing insect flew off, and I was completely memorized followed it. Although I wasn't religious, I didn't even believe in spiritual things, but the glowing insect gave me the feeling. It was sent by the heavens, the universe, or some other sacred force to guide me. I was so caught up in following it that I didn't notice how far I wandered from my place and ended up in a narrow alley. It's the, am I in danger? The moth suddenly disappeared, and two fingers appeared in front of me in the alley. The sound of heeled boots echoed on the ground. One of the strangers was a woman. The other seemed to be a man, though through the darkness and the swirling snowflakes made it hard to see them clearly. Despite the harsh weather, one thing was crystal clear. I saw the man approaching the woman ahead with a knife. Thieves and attacks happen. Theft and attacks happen all over the world, and it seemed my home was no exception. I wanted to grab my phone and call the police or record the attacker, but then I remembered I don't have it on me. Don't have it on me. Although I knew that drawing attention to myself wouldn't end well, my legs will start moving towards them, like I'm Deku. Guess Bakugo. I was about to say something to warn the stranger, but the sound of my heavy footsteps made both of them turn around. I had no idea if the woman had noticed the weapon in the stalker's hand, but seeing how close they were, she panicked and ran off. The sound of their boots clicking faded into distance. I did it. I managed to save someone's life. But now I was the one left alone with the suspicious figure in the alley. I think this is our Yandere. I wanted to run too, but the stranger was faster and grabbed my shoulder. Ouch! He shoved my back against the nearby wall. Let go of me, I shouted. At least that moment, the man let out a barely audible chuckle. I looked up at him and was surprised to find him myself, face to face with someone familiar. His face only became visible in the light of the street lamp next to us. I didn't think we'd bump into each other here. Your name's Ellie, isn't it? The man's remark and question sounded thoughtful, which didn't match the fraying look on his face at all. I knew him. He was Daniel, my neighbor who lives in the same floor as my family. When he moved in about a year ago, I had helped him carry his bags up to the sixth floor. We didn't talk much back then. Neither Danny or I seemed very extrovert. You can still make friends as introverts, though. In fact, I am way too introverted. While we were carrying the boxes, he asked general questions, like how I was doing in high school and what I wanted to study further. Just out of politeness. When we were finished, he brewed a cup of coffee. As a token of thanks, he gave me some fruit, vegetables, homemade jam, and honey. All of which, he said, were regular gifts from his own family. Oh yeah, because politeness you give gifts too. After that, we occasionally ran into her in the alleyway, the hallway, or the elevator, but not too often. Danny was aware what kind of people my parents were. Our neighbors had occasionally talked to the police at them for noise complaints, but Danny didn't seem to mind. Or at least, he acted like he didn't. One night he came home to find me sitting in front of my apartment door after an argument with my parents. I was waiting for my parents to fall asleep so I could sneak back into my room. That's when Danny invited me in, offering a place to stay until things settled down at home. He didn't ask what happened, or anything about my family or me. He just made me a cup of coffee. Based on that, I had thought my neighbor was a good person. Turns out, maybe not. But now, seeing the intent to kill with my own eyes, I realized I couldn't have been more wrong. It didn't take long for a chilling thought to hit me. Danny had been hurting people in secret, and now he's probably furious that I had scared off his victim and almost exposed him. Danny, I was just about to say something, anything, to get myself out of the situation. But Danny tightened his grip on my shoulder. My life flashed before my eyes. I must have seen something I should have. My neighbor definitely doesn't want anyone this left. If I hadn't followed the glowing moth, I would never have ended up in the alley in the middle of the night. Fate my butt. I wasn't even sure anymore if the moth had been real, or if my mind had just been playing tricks on me. I could feel the pain from the injuries my father's fist had caused starting to return to my skin. The age swelling up again. Maybe this is where fate wanted it to end. I have lived a very pathetic life. We're only in high school. The parents have the one that's the pathetic life. And if there's anyone out there, they probably see me as a mistake that's beyond fixing. No, they would pull you away from your parents. Something they rather erase. Even if I'm a mistake, I don't want to die. Let's fight back. Whether it's fate or not, I won't let anyone take my life today. I reached in my pocket and pulled out my house key. If my father really wanted to kick me out for good, he should have taken this from me. The knife was still resting in the neighbor's hand. But when he tried to grab me with his left hand, I sliced his palm with the rough edge of my key. The silver-haired man quietly looked at his bleeding wound. And when I thought his chilling gaze couldn't get more terrifying, he slashed my throat with the knife in his right hand. You're dead. Now that we know if we fight back, we kinda die, let's go with don't do anything. I didn't want to die, but I had no strength left to resist. I was tired of the way my days have been going for years. The situation at home, the arguments, the bad grades, and the loneliness. Deep down, all I longed for was a break. I closed my eyes tiredly. Despite feeling my neighbor's dangerous gaze on me, I no longer cared about anything. I left Danny's fingers tight. Felt Danny's fingers lightly brush against my neck. A sensation that was both freeing and oddly ticklish at the same time. Your face. Did your parents do this to you again? Wait. What, if I fight you, you you attack us, and we kinda go bye bye. But if we don't fight back, you become there. You're in there mode. He asked. His voice made me open my eyes without thinking. The way he said it felt more like a statement than a question. I didn't say anything, but Danny acted like he already read the answer from my face. The knife in his pocket disappeared when he continued to examine my energies. He's just like all worried now. Like, but if we fight back, he just RIPs us. His hand, which had been around my neck just a moment ago, now moved towards the scalp of my cheek, but he made sure not to let his fingers touch my skin. Danny suddenly stepped back. I'll let you go with one condition. His voice was firm. There was no urgency or emotion in it. It sounded like he was making a business proposal. You know, most people think that one of the hardest things in the world is taking someone's life. But in reality, it's nothing. Oh, I probably will be, depending on the person. One moment, it's all over. What's really interesting is what happens afterward. His gaze fixed on me again. What reminds you of after? My heart skipped a beat. What are you talking about? That there's no point in RIPing you. He slowly pulled out his knife, but not in a frame way. Instead, he casually twirls it in between his fingers. There would be nothing special about it. Throwing away a broken toy is not interesting. But watching what the broken toy does once it's free from the one who broke it, that's a different story. I clenched my lips tighter. What are you trying to say? Danny didn't want me dead. He was after something else. So what is it that you want from me? I'm gonna take a guess, and he wants us to do the unthinkable with like he does. Danny gave a faint smile. I want you to use me? Wait, what? Just one word, and they're gone. Okay, I thought it was something completely different, Danny. You need to communicate a little bit more. There's also something called wait, this is not the United States, but there'll be still far better options in Hungary, guarantee it, where child protective services or something would actually be. A chill ran down my spine when I realized what he's applying. You mean my parents? Yes, Danny nodded. Guarantee you just need to go to the cop instead of your local neighbor who happens to be a serial killer. One word, and by tomorrow they'll be gone. I start breathing heavily. I might also be charged for by the courts if I do let you do it too. And if I say no, Danny shrugged. Then there's no deal. I can't guarantee I'll be as lenient next time. He paused for a moment, then continued. But think about it. You have two options. You'll either be homeless or you'll go home back to them. And I think I'll I think I'll go to the cops instead. If you choose later, tomorrow morning you'll wake up, just like you did today. In the same house with the same people. And everything will start over. Like, Groundhog Day? My stomach tying. Danny could probably read my expression like an open book. This is your only chance, Ellie, and it's up to you. If I were you, I'll take advantage of it. Of me. Ridiculous. But it really made me think about what he said. If I were a normal person with a normal relationship with my parents, I definitely would have considered his offer. I would think of going to the cops instead, though. Any normal person would have instinctively turned down Danny's offer. Actually, I probably would have gone to the cops first and foremost. But I must be far from normal if even the man in front of me was comparing me to something broken. Well, there is cases where kids have done this. Even if he didn't see me as whole, the thought made me smile awkwardly, probably making me seem like the insane one between us. I think we're both insane. I thought about my parents. The rage washed over me. How many sleepless nights have I spent wondering? Why me? Why was I the one stuck with the messed up family? All I wanted was some kind of justice. If the 40s turned a blind eye to my miserable life every time, then I would have to find another way to do justice. Oh, they turned us down already? Okay, never mind. Maybe this man, my neighbor, was sent by destiny for this very purpose. Maybe he was a moth the entire time, but it's also possible that even the heavens are just laughing at me, and Danny was sent from heck to unleash chaos on the people of Earth. Even better. I no longer mattered which one was true. Danny was an opportunity I wanted to seize. Alright, I said after a long silence. If you're serious, then just just get it over with. Danny's eyes gleamed dangerously in the dark, as if he were genuinely surprised by my response. As you wish. He replied, then started walking out of the alley. I remained frozen, leaning against the wall of the house. Before I could start regretting anything I had said or felt, Danny stopped and looked back at me one last time. You're a smart boy, Ellie. You made the right choice. That evening, I walked home with Danny, or at least to the house I more or less called home. He told me not to follow him, so I stayed in the parking lot, where I could wait in his car. As soon as I got in, a wave of sleepiness hit me. I saw Danny. I gave Danny my apartment key, but later I found out he didn't even need it, because my parents had left the front door open, which wasn't unusual since they both had been drinking. Yeah, I don't think they have, any, um, understanding what they're doing. Saying that they're kind of that drunk. I was just about to doze off in the passenger's seat when I heard an explosion. I looked up and saw my family's sixth-floor apartment engulfed in flames. This had to be Danny's doing. My heart was racing in the car, and drowsiness disappeared from my eyes. I watched from the parking lot as the residents evacuated the building, and firefighters showed up to put out the flames. But my parents were found dead. The police found the case. The police closed the case as an accident, knowing the kind of lifestyle my parents led. The story had been reported in the news like this. A troubled alcoholic couple blew up their apartment after leaving the gas on overnight. I think that could have been probably plot twist. He didn't even do it. He didn't even get up there. They actually did leave the stove on. The truth is, Danny had planned the whole thing, but it was never found out. Everyone thought it was an accident. No plot twist. It was actually an accident. A mix of emotions stirred within me about my parents' death. Relief, uncertainty, grief, and guilt. As time went on, the later took more and more control over me. I regret giving in to Danny's offer so easily. I mean, I did get a choice to see what happened. He'd tell me not to feel like I made the wrong choice, but it's easy for someone who never felt guilt in their entire life. Being a psychopath. My parents were terrible people, but they didn't deserve to die. That's how I feel now. I was the one who sentenced them to death. Even though it was Danny who took their lives, I was the one who pulled the trigger. I'm aware of that. The weight of my actions has haunted me every day since, in the form of suffocating guilt at times and recurring nightmares at others. A year has passed since my parents' death. I have a cat now. I'll be fine, I have a cat. After the incident, I moved out, or rather, Danny and I moved into another apartment in Budapest. Since I'm still a student and had nowhere to go, Danny officially became my guardian. I didn't have any other close relatives. As far as I knew, my distant relatives on my father's side live in Transylvania, so I highly doubt they knew my existence. Well, I'm gonna go to Transylvania, find out. Because of this, Danny made another offer. As long as I haven't completed my studies, I'm not financially dependent yet. I could stay with him. Or maybe this is his way of trying to take responsibility for what happened. Oh no, I think he's a yandere for us. Or maybe this is his way to try to keep me under pressure, so I don't reveal our secret to anyone. I know no one in their right mind would move in with their parents' killer. Unless they're forced to. But didn't blame Danny, despite my guilt. Since I was the one who caused it all, I felt it was pointless to resent him. Although my fear was always working inside me. Especially at the beginning of us living together, that Danny could go back on his word where he felt like it. Danny was the kind of person who society would call a sociopath. I did just call him a sociopath, so guess I'm society. If he's been diagnosed, they probably would have labeled him with antisocial personality disorder. Such people have little empathy and high need of control. Danny was skilled at pretending to be just like any other empathetic person in front of others. He had a little bit of empathy for letting us live with him. Or worrying that when he saw the energies. And he was outstanding in his office work as well. However, when it was just me and him, he stopped pretending. His expression would turn much colder at those times. When we spoke, it was short, to the point, but there were days when he wouldn't even speak to me. I spent the first few nights in terror, thinking, what if one night Danny decided to kill me too? But in the end, he never laid a finger on me. In fact, it was quite the opposite. It quickly became too comfortable living with him since he handled most of the housework. He cooks for me, cleans up after me, buys me clothes and school stuff, and even leaves pocket money on my desk. Since these things weren't provided when I lived with my parents, I quickly realized that I prefer living with him. Well, the sociopath is less of a sociopath than your parents. I got so used to it within a year. I almost forgot something important about Danny. The guilt galled at me, so much that there were nights when I didn't even notice Danny coming home later than usual, or leaving in the middle of the night. Probably I knew about most of these, but because of my own anxiety, I didn't want to acknowledge them. This morning I told Danny I'll be spending the night at a classmate's place. After moving, I'd end up at a new school where I could start fresh. No one here knew who I was or that my parents were on the news last year. They think I'm living alone with my dad. I don't want anyone to find out about my guardianship because they'll ask what happened to my real parents. So I lied and pretended everything was perfectly fine, and because of my lies, I ended up making a few friends. One of them invited me to play video games after school, so I went straight to his house once classes were over. It felt strange to think that I would be sleeping at home tonight, since I really went out to socialize. Except for school, of course. Probably today, Danny will feel a bit more relaxed, knowing that I'm not just sitting in my room all day. At least that was the plan. Everything was going fine until my classmate's dad came home and started arguing with his mom. My friend's room was upstairs in a detached house, but the shouting from downstairs sounded like it was happening right next to us. After a while, I got up and apologized to my classmate and walked home in the middle of the night. Even after all these months, anything that reminded me of my dead parents still affected me. Even though they were buried, it felt like I never truly escaped from them. I was in such a hurry to get home that I completely forgot to tell Danny about it. When I got home, I found the front door locked, but luckily, I had my apartment key with me. When I stepped into the hallway, I hoped Danny hadn't forgotten to feed Corey. I hadn't even taken my shoes off when I heard a woman crying in the living room. I didn't even know who it was, but my instincts told me to hide right away. On one side of the hallway, there were two doors. One led to the bathroom, and the other one behind it was the toilet. I hid behind the one at the back, but I left the door slightly ajar. Otherwise, it would have been too loud if I closed it completely. I waited for several minutes, but nothing happened. The crying stopped, as if they'd been a figment of my imagination all along. I was about to step out of the bathroom when Danny's unexpected appeared in the doorway. He wasn't wearing a shirt, and his body was covered in blood. His eyes were bloody red, glowing red in the dark, and the sight almost made me crap myself right then and there. Is he a vampire? At least the bathroom was close by. Danny grabbed the doorknob with a swift motion. He swung the bathroom door open, completely exposing me. The last time he looked this angry was probably in the alley, when I scared off the woman he was following. I think he's a vampire. Neither of us said a word for a while. Then Danny broke the silence in almost friendly tone. I just had to joke. I don't know. Did you come home? It's like, of course. This was the moment I realized that I answered wrong. I'll regret it. Yes, I nod, barely managing to mutter the word. Danny nodded as well. But you said you were staying at someone else's place tonight and wouldn't be coming home. I could feel the blood pouring in my temples. I changed my mind. Danny gave another slight nod. And you forgot to let me know? You didn't ask. It was a statement. I didn't have time to text. I tried to salvage the situation. Danny smiled, but there was no warmth in it. But sending a message didn't take much time. I wasn't sure what to say. I wasn't sure what to say next without making things worse. Danny looked me up and down, then sighed quietly. If I'd known you were home, I would have handled it even differently. Danny's voice was full of tension, but he wasn't shouting. But I couldn't because you didn't tell me. My heart skipped a beat. I was terrified of what you might do to me. Next time you decide to stay somewhere else, make sure you actually stay there. If you come back, let me know. These things these things is difficult, right? I shake my head, signaling that I understand what he said. Good. Now go to your room. I stood there for a while between the hallway and the bathroom, trying to process what had just happened. Danny didn't say anything else either. He didn't need to. His gaze was enough for me to know if I didn't move it immediately, I'll regret it. I started heading to my room. Walked straight through the dark living room, too afraid to look away. By the time I closed my door, the whole house had fallen too silent. It must have been about an hour since then. I was lying in my bed with Corey, staring at the ceiling. Corey was a stray cat from the neighborhood that I found 4 months ago on my way home from school. At first, I didn't want to bring her home, but I couldn't leave her behind. So she was so small back then. I was afraid for her because of Danny. For Danny, people were nothing more than replaceable objects. Then to him, even a pet probably meant less than an object. But when I brought her home, despite my fears, I begged Danny to let Corey stay. I'd never begged for anything, not even from my parents. I promised he wouldn't see Corey, that she'd stay in my room, and that I'll take care of feeding her and cleaning her litter box. Danny was watching TV, and I couldn't tell what he was thinking. He just said alright and left it at that. Corey who got her name from her black fur. Oh, yeah, wrong name. But pronunciation, but yeah, I'm just going to say Corey. Has been living with me in my room ever since. At first, when she was really small, I was worried she might slip out and run into Danny somewhere in the apartment. So far, it's happened twice. The first time I probably didn't even close my door properly, and when I came home, Danny remarked, "Your cat escaped from your room." The second time she slipped past my feet and ended up in the kitchen, where she ran into Danny. By then, he didn't comment on it. Corey must have sensed that it was better for her not to seek Danny's company. It seemed like they both ignored each other. When I saw that Danny had no intention of hurrying Corey, I relaxed and stopped rushing home from school every day to make sure Corey was safe. I think Corey is comfortable in my room. But there were times she seemed eager to embark on a journey beyond it. Like most cats, in the room that Danny oddly gave me. He bought the furniture and my new clothes after the fire destroyed everything I had in the explosion at my parents' place. Although I had my own clothes, Danny had let me wear his t-shirts and hoodies. They were big but comfortable. I even wore one of his hoodies to school today. My gaze landed in my desk where the computer Danny had gave me was placed. It wasn't new. It was secondhand. It was a secondhand computer. He said he no longer needed it because he uses the company laptop. So I accepted it from him. While I rested on the vault, these thoughts crossed my mind, and I asked myself, why is it good for Danny that I'm here? Without knowing him, I'd probably be spending my days in the orphanage until graduation. That's why it was never a question that living here was good for me. I had a roof over my head, food to eat, and if I ever asked for anything, which wasn't often, I didn't want to take advantage of Danny's goodwill. He'd buy it for me. Even let Corey stay. But from a different perspective, I could understand why Danny was wasting his time and money on me. If we were some kind of excessive sense of responsibility on his part for killing my parents, it would have been more than enough for him to just provide me with a place to stay and I could get by with a part-time job while I study. He doesn't have to go that far, but the fact that he does makes me think that Danny needs something from me. Though I have no idea what it could be. I have nothing, and it doesn't look like he's planning to hurt me. I sighed, thinking that I wouldn't figure it out anytime soon. I stared at the walls, and suddenly light filtered through the window. It wasn't the light from the neighborhood apartment building, though. It was a whole bunch of glowing orbs in the sky. Those orbs gathered around my room's window. I jumped out of the bed and pulled the curtains wide open to get a better look at them. Looking closer, they were exactly the same moths that I seen a year ago, on the day my parents died. With their tiny wings, they beat against the glass. In my head, I hear the plea, listen. I couldn't resist, not when I chased one for the city, and not now as I opened the window for them. That's when the moths vanished from the street and swarmed into my room. They were like fireflies inside. They were light. The light was simmering and warm. Your name's Ellie, right? A voice spoke up. I turned around and tried to figure out who it belonged to. One of the moths, though it sounded more like an inner voice people hear in their heads when they are thinking. Here I am. I spoke again. A bigger, rounder moth appeared in the surface of my desk. I had to scoop Corey up in my arms so she wouldn't try to hunt our strange visitors. Is this a hallucination? I asked. Are you really talking? The moth strained its soft, creamy-colored little antenna things. Something like that. Only the chosen can hear a voice like you, it applied. chosen ones. Indeed, we watched humans and judged them with their reactions. We only appear to those we find worthy to speaking to. The plump moth spoke very dramatically. The plump moth spoke very diplomatically while staring at me with its bun-like red eyes. We're here to make you offer, it continued. However, it couldn't finish the sentence because the sound of the doors opening interrupted both me and the moths. Danny stepped into my room. He probably noticed I was still awake and talking to someone. Danny looked how beautiful they are. I turned towards him without thinking. First, I didn't even notice the wide smile on my face or how unusually lively my voice sounded when I said that. I would be a little lively, but I'm having a hard time breathing. He probably thought it was childish. The last time I acted like this was when I was a child. But they were very beautiful. They were really beautiful, and I really wanted to share the sight with someone. Then he stepped further into the room. Surprise was written all over his face. I couldn't tell if he was looking at me or the glowing instants flying around me. His face was bathed in moonlight and the glow from the opposite building. Danny is in his early 30s, but he looks younger. Aside from the kind of person he is, he has attractive features, which makes it easy for him to win people over, especially women. When a genuine reaction like this one appeared in his face, he seemed completely human. Danny walked over to me. What's happening here? Why are there so many insects? He asked. They came in through the window. I replied, gesturing towards the now closed windows. Danny crossed his arms. Did you open it? I gave a small nod, avoiding his eyes. Before Danny could make a remark, the moth sitting on the desk interrupted. Forgive our late hour visit, but we come here with urgent purpose. I immediately looked up at Danny's face. You must have heard the moth too, right? His expression was still hard to read. He definitely did. Ellie moved back. He said it without looking at me. Why are you saying this? I asked, still holding Corey in my arms. These things could be dangerous. We don't mean you harm. We only came with a request. What request? Definitely heard it. It seemed like the moth paused, taking a deep breath before answering. Although we may appear as mere insects to you, we're actually not part of your world species. Alien moths! His voice was full of wisdom, and a brief silence followed. If that's true, then what are you doing here? Danny kept asking questions. Because despite everything, our worlds are still connected, like the two sides of a mirror. In our world, there exists an entire entity that we call the ideal core. It prefers to hide in the darkness normally. They really cause us any problems. However, when a person in your world is on the edge of life and death, its entirely entity attaches itself to them. We can also say it behaves like a virus in your realm. After infecting the host's body, they turn it into a fully developed Eric. They feed on beings like us, but their numbers start to rapidly grow. But if their numbers start to rapidly grow, they also become a threat to the species in your world. It seems like Danny was impressed by the moth's words. He's already one of them, probably. And you thought we would believe the story? He asked with skepticism. It made sense, given how unreal the whole thing sounded, like something out of a fairy tale. Or sci-fi novel. I can understand why it's hard to believe us, as up to now, here's been no reason for our species to ever make contact. But if what you're saying is true, why come to us specifically? Why didn't you go to someone with no more influence, like influencer? Object aside, I asked why my mind was full of questions and doubts. Because, as I already mentioned once, we only turn to those who earn our trust. So how did I earn your trust? I followed you, met him, he repeat our parents, and we now moved in home. How we get your trust? How did we get your trust? Your world leaders are not kind of people we trust, wherever you like it or not. Actually, I kind of get that. I 100% understand that. I don't think we trust our world leaders. We only need a few people who can help reduce the number of our eggs. So we need Mr. Stabby and me. Mr. Stabby and me. After this, we can retreat back to our realm in harmony for the next few centuries. Danny let out a quiet chuckle, almost too soft to hear. What made you think you could trust this boy? After all, he was involved in the death of his own parents. His words sank into me like poison. I wanted to deny that I was the one who killed them, but I couldn't bring myself to speak. We know about it, replied the moth. We've been watching you for a while. You're the one that you're the one that did it anyway. We need people who are afraid to end the Ajax lives, even if they look almost human. We know your story, and we decide that you are the best choice right here and now. Both of us? And what if we refuse? Danny asked, sitting on my bed, with one leg across from over there. After a brief silence, the moth responded. Then we had to look for other hunters. Why can't you hunt these creatures yourselves? We're small and weak on our own, but if it lies with our entrance, we can offer some of our strength to others. Okay, if they're weak, and we're the strong ones, Your how are you gonna give us your strength? You should just swarm them. I was wondering what kind of power the fluffy moth could be talking about. Something like, my brain goes, Animorphs, like Animorphs. Maybe superpowers, but I quickly dismissed the thought. You don't have to make your decision right away. We'll give you some time to think it over. And since we came with a bargain, we grant you we grant one of your wishes in exchange for your help within the limits of our power. Think about what you desire most in the meantime. The moths head towards the window once more, but this time they weren't trying to come in. They seem eager to leave. After a few days, we'll contact you again and wait for your response. These were the last words of the largest moth. I opened the door. I opened the window without a word and watched, lost in thought, as they disappear into the dark sky. This was strange. As if Danny had spoken my own words out loud. That's for sure, I nod. What should we do if they do come back? Do you think they would actually grant wishes? Pass. Danny shrugged, stepping in front of me. It's getting late. We'd be worrying about it. It's getting late to be worrying about this right now. You have school anyway, right? He watched out with his right hand and brushed the bangs out of my eyes. You look exhausted. You should get some rest. Was it because of the moths that his move proved? I'll never be able to understand this man. I nodded. Danny's fingers gently drifted to the strands, resting on the top of my head. His careless movements were deliberate, yet gentle. We stood there for a minute, the warmth of his hand almost luring me to sleep. Good night, Ellie. He turned, then left the room. Good night, I muttered as he walked away, though I'm not sure he heard. I got into bed and pulled the blankets tightly around myself. Before I fell asleep, I thought about the moths. If I could wish for anything from them, I wonder if they'll be able to bring my parents back. Like bring them back to life so they could be with us again. Oh no. My heart squeezed uncomfortably at the thought. Despite eating me up inside, it was hard to admit, but I didn't want them back. Even if someone forced me. I quietly closed the door behind me. For a moment, I stood in front of them, my hand still resting on the handle. Silence. Ellie fell asleep. Since he's been sleeping with the cat, he probably doesn't wake up during the night anymore. But that doesn't mean he's any better. There are still too many cracks in him. Something happened to him at the classmates today. I could see in him. He still doesn't know how to keep himself together. I looked up at my left palm. Once one of the insects was laying in it, its wings broken, dead. I checked my fingers. The body tore it into tiny pieces. What kind of nonsense was this illusion they just showed? It was talking about some kind of power they could lend to others. Power? I turned my wrist, watching the debris scatter between my fingers. They break easily. I watch and see what they're after, what they know. If they become a problem, I'll tear them apart one by one. Flashing lights, next video. Guess I'll see if that is, but I'm probably end it if it's. Oh, this is actually. I actually like this moment. The boy was left behind. The man who killed us to feel. Okay, I actually like this. Just kind of shows that they're gonna. They're gonna probably either work together or he's gonna be the villain of the story. Oh, I think we're actually going to. He's gonna come with us. So that was Mothbound. If you like my content, please subscribe with the video, help a lot, and comment down below. I'll see you guys next time.